So that's a wrap on Urbanism Next. Day 3 is over and out.
Done.
Key takeaways, comments?
Well, today was really great because it actually brought everything together. 4 sort of successive panels talking about future of research, future of the professions, planning, urban design, landscape architecture, governance, and then future of whatever I said, and government. So it must have been 3 panels, and then brought it all together. So it's nice to actually take everything that's been learned and squish it together and go, so what does it actually mean?
Yeah, and that perspective on what's next for each of those sort of components, and really a real striking comment that resonated with me was David Rouse, who's head of research at the Planning Institute of Australia.
APA.
Sorry.
We wish. We wish.
APA, the American Planning Association, said that he's now spending about 75% of his time on smart cities, which is something that he would have never imagined. But then followed that comment up with, it kind of makes sense that the planning profession be a core lead when it comes to smart cities. And I think that's something that we're trying to work more on in Australia, but really nice to see that recognition we're starting to see that over here.
And for me, the government guys wrapping up pretty much what's been said a few times. Set your vision, know where you want to go, and then set the terms on how this technology comes into your city and not feel like you can't have a say in it, it's going to run over the top of you. We're big people, we're big cities, set the tone and don't let them dominate the discussion, but you've got to be present.
Yeah,
be active.
That's right. I mean, the story that was told around the city of Portland, who went out for expression of interest for autonomous vehicle providers, but they went out seeking expressions of interest under the following conditions, and the following conditions were: 1, you're going to help us achieve our goals; 2, help us advance our climate strategy; 3, you're going to help us build greater equity in neighbourhoods. And there was a 4th one I can't remember. But what was interesting was that was a year ago, and they really didn't get a lot of genuine expressions of interest. But she said that if they were to run that expression of interest now, it would be a totally different ball game. And I think that highlights how quick the level of maturity and interest in this is evolving, that just in 12 months it would be a totally different response.
Oh yeah, and there was a really nice concept around procurement, which is don't try and get it all sorted, just sort out the basics. What are the key fundamental blocks that are important to your city, and then let the people innovate in their brief back. But if you try and overdo it, you'll end up with 2015 solutions for a 2020 problem. Because it'll take us that long to procure it, which I think is pretty relevant for us in Australia, given the massive, big infrastructure projects we're procuring at the moment.
And there was another comment that backed that up that said, stick to your goals. And the smart cities thing will be so much easier. So make sure you're fully grounded in what your corporate goals are as a city, as a municipality, and the rest will sort of follow. But the moment you stray from your goals, you start to really.
And then the last bit with Nico, so probably should say it for everyone. So Nico was the guy who pulled this conference together
from University of
Oregon. Truly, I think one of the best conferences I've ever been to from front to end. And as we were reflecting with someone over coffee this morning, actually too much content, because there was so much you wanted to see and couldn't get to. But I think it's pleasing one. He just said at the end there that they filmed all of the major plenary sessions and they're going to be putting it out open sourcing.
Brilliant.
And what he said, which I loved, is that he said, we don't own the turf here. Cities are not a turf space. This is a place where everyone needs to put their shoulder in and get it done. So open source everything, share everything, and let's get in this together, which is sort of a lovely, really final parting word from Nico, because I think we are a little bit turfy at the moment, and not collaborative enough. So
I think, and that can be the benefit of kind of like a research institution driving this type of agenda. They're an intermediary. They're at times neutral territory, and they can attract interest and funding that sort of private sector or government can't. It'll be nice to sort of go back home and see whether we can build some cross-nation research institution partnerships and see what of Urbanism Next Portland we can bring to Australia.
Well, I think you try and bring a few speakers to start with, but just the the breadth of the conferences. I think that's the thing, is we have planning conferences, we have architecture conferences, we have landscape architecture conferences, and we then have smart city horizontals or verticals. But rarely have we squished. This one had all of them, and then people talking about social equity, talking about governance. So we've got the people setting the rules, we've got the people administering and doing them, and we've got the people at the other end, who actually have to deal with all the outcomes. So this was a very, very diverse crowd. But,
what was interesting was it was led by urbanists, but there were technologists there, right? So Uber was there, Lyft was there, Verizon was there, so they had telcos, other providers, other companies, strategically contributing to panels and presentations. But it's probably the better mix I've seen across urbanists and technologists. But this one was led by the urbanists, so it'll be interesting to see how this conference, how this concept evolves and matures. Because of 500 people, it was still dominated by urbanists. It would be interesting to see whether more technologists could get infused and resonate with this.
And I reckon, based on everyone who we chatted to said this is the best conference they've been to, you'd have to think next year it'll be twice the size. Again, Nico at the end sort of wrapped up a few things and more groups he wants to bring to the discussion next year. He wants the property economists who can really start to help understand the impact on real estate. He wants to bring some hardcore, more equity in the social aspects to it all. Bring the labour, which in our Australian world is effectively the people whose jobs, it gets us the unions in our
unions,
to understand what are the impacts on jobs and how do we evolve our workforces. That was one really nice comment today. It's one thing to upgrade your technology, but you need to upgrade and your workforce as well.
I think it was one of the opening slides on day one, which sort of stated that, autonomous vehicles aren't, it's not a mobility agenda. It's not a car agenda. E-commerce is not a retail agenda. I mean, it's so systemic across so many sectors, and I think on reflection, that those sort of holistic and systemic statements were kind of used to help structure the program, which is why I think it pulled off. I mean, what I felt was that any of those 500 people, regardless of your discipline or sector, would have found value in any of the the program components. I mean, it didn't go into verticals or anything like that. It was so horizontally cutting. It just made it so informative for a broader portion of the audience.
But even effectively the theme or the catch cry for the conference, which was a city that thinks ahead, stays ahead.
I love that.
Just such a powerful and simple message, because it really that's what it is saying if you think ahead, and you don't know what you don't know, but tell people what you don't know about what we're thinking it might be. So,
just quickly, last comment from you. First time in Portland, Oregon. As an urbanist, sort of a bit of the home of compact development, 20-minute cities, biking, things like that. What are your observations of Portland as a place?
Well, I think it's that thing of when you make it easy to get around, then people don't drive cars. So we've got the light rail every day from the train station. Haven't actually been in a single car the entire time we've been here. Bike lanes everywhere, so good footpaths and walking environments, and that shows me when you put people first, then bikes, then public transport, and then cars last, then, funnily enough, that's pretty much what happens. I've seen that every day, just walking around. It's such a walkable city, even though it's, it's a cold and it's been, on zero most mornings, so people out cycling at 0 degrees. I mean, people in Brisbane wouldn't cycle if it was below 10 degrees.
Would you come back?
Oh, mate, I'd love to come back. I'd love to explore the city more, but look, it's just been a great week more than anything. Good to be able to contribute to the discussion a bit yesterday. Hopefully some people will take something from the two Aussies invading the conference.
Truly international conference when the Australians are there. Well, it was a good 3 days.
Oh, man, good. I don't think he even covers it.
No. It was pretty spectacular. It was. So we'll have to unpack. a lot of these thoughts and ideas.
There's a lot
and
of
share
reading
them.
to be done after this. So many pilot programs, events, research papers that have all been mentioned. We now need to kind of just ferret together and put into a resource.
Yeah.
There's so much.
So through our respective LinkedIn sort of platforms, we'll distribute this information. So look out
great.
for that. Yeah. Until next time.
See?